From the Farah and Farah Sports Desk, it's First Coast Sports.
With the hiring of Doug Pederson, it feels like the circus that was the Jaguars coaching search is finally quieting down. But it also doesn't. We'll get to why that is in just a second, but for now, that's him asking if we want some ice cream. You heard the man, folks. Let's watch the video of the Jaguars' 7th full-time head coach being introduced this afternoon. The Super Bowl winning head coach spent 2016 to 2020 with the Philadelphia Eagles after initially interviewing with the Jaguars and a few other teams for an offensive coordinator position last January. Pederson ultimately decided to take last year off. In our one-on-one interview, Pederson explains why 2021 was more than just recharging his coaching batteries.
It was a blessing in disguise for me because there was a lot of things off the field that I probably wouldn't have been a part of otherwise, having taken the year off. And we had a grandson born. I went through the marriage of our oldest son and his wife, and then of course I lost my brother to cancer. So I got to spend a lot of time with family this past year, and it really it makes you appreciate everything that we do in life. And football is a part of our life. This is kind of what I do. Right, but life is really important, and family is really important, and that's the feeling that you get, and I've received, having been here for a short period already in Jacksonville.
To watch more from my one-on-one interview with Doug Pederson and all of our coverage from the Jaguars head coaching hire, be sure to head on over to firstcoastnews.com. Okay, so the nuts and bolts from today's press conference. 1, after a roundabout way of getting there, Shad Khan eventually admitted that the Jaguars are interviewing for an executive vice president and an executive role that would report to the general manager. What does that mean for Trent Baalke? Well, he's still employed. What his actual responsibilities will be come March when the league year begins, no one quite knows. On the coaching side, Doug Pederson would like to be the primary play caller, just as he was in Philadelphia. He is confident that he's, quote, not behind the 8 ball in building his staff. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, Pederson wants to remind everyone that this is not an overnight fix. It will take one person, one play at a time to turn Jacksonville into a championship contender. Before he met the media, Doug Pederson got the chance to speak with several of the Jaguars players, including Trevor Lawrence, James Robinson, and Josh Allen. Shout out to Trevor, by the way, for also providing an ice cream stand for the media and invited guests. I know Coach Pederson and myself both loved that one. I told you there would be ice cream in the sportscast. Right? Look at that. How nice. On to hoops. The Florida Gators got a sweet surprise of their own today. All SEC forward Colin Castleton cleared to return from a shoulder injury. First time he's played since January 15th. Slow start for both squads on offense. Rebels led 30-21 at half. Yikes. Castleton must have just needed that first half to warm up because he came out of halftime firing. Reverse layup with 6 minutes to go puts Florida up 42-40. Don't worry. Castleton shook off that apparent leg injury. He led the way with 17-7. But Ole Miss patiently waited for their chance. Under 10 seconds to play. A 2-point game now. Ty Fagan, tough bucket to the rack, ties things up at 48. All of a sudden, we are headed to overtime. And that's where Castleton really came alive. Off the screen, feed from Tyree Appleby, transition layup. Good night, Irene. Told you that leg injury was nothing to worry about. It was not pretty, but Florida wins a rock fight, 62-57, to keep pace in the SEC. Game of the day, number 1 Auburn at Georgia. 2 schools totally known for basketball, right? Tom Crean's crew is 6-6 team, but they got up for this one. Under 4 to play, tied at 64. Aaron Cook can't get the floater to fall, but Carrillo Aguando has his back. The sophomore led everybody with 25 points. Dogs up 2. Now, 12 seconds to play. Tied at 72 after Georgia couldn't connect on a would-be game-winning 3. Wendell Green, full head of steam to the rack. He actually loses the ball but collects it and puts it up for the go-ahead bucket. Auburn goes up 74-72 with 3.3 seconds to play, and that's how it would end. Number 1 Auburn survives a scare from the Dogs and moves to 22-1 on the year. Hey, they travel to Gainesville 2 weeks from today. And good golly gosh, what has gotten into Florida State? Leonard Hamilton's Noles dropped their 4th straight game. The last 3 losses have been by 10 points or less, but still, they'll get a chance to snap that skid Wednesday night when they host Pitt. And fresh off a win over first place and previously unbeaten Jacksonville State, Matthew Driscoll's Ospreys in control late against North Alabama. JU also on an Alabama swing. They are trailing by 3 at halftime to Jacksonville State. And that is it for sports. Let's take one last look at that forecast.